A beautiful day in Jupiter, and in fact, the last day in Jupiter. Welcome, everybody, to Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium as the Miami Marlins wrap up their Grapefruit League action against the reigning World Series champion, Houston Astros. Gearing up to move south. We certainly are. And hello again, everybody. Welcome onside to the field here. Paul Severino and Todd Hollinsworth. So bags are packed, excitement in the air, no doubt about it. Got to get through this one healthy for sure, but eyes certainly on Thursday.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You want to get through today's ball game healthy. Don Mattingly certainly wants that. A.J. Hinch for the Astros wants that as well. But you know what? Still something to get out of this ball game. You're going to see a lot of starters out there today for both the Marlins and the Astros come opening day.
Yeah, speaking of starters, a big one on the mound on the other side today for Houston. Dallas Keuchel, a former Cy Young winner, one of, as you mentioned, many Astros will see this afternoon.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic spring. 1.74 ERA. He's going today for the Astros. Expect him out there 3, maybe 5 innings. But again, good to see him get that start. A final tune-up before the start of the season. Good
chunk of the Astros opening day hopeful starting lineup. And for the Marlins, of course, a lot of those big guys that we've loved to see so far here in the spring. Brinson, Bohr, and many others. Lineups in first pitch from Jupiter. Coming up after the break. Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Papa John's. Could not ask for a more beautiful day here in Jupiter. There you got A.J. Hinch on the left, Don Mattingly on the right as they shake hands and part ways, at least for now, and certainly parting ways and heading south for the Marlins and west, I suppose, for the Astros after this one. The Astros starting lineup today, just one game for them, no split squad, so a lot of studs in their lineup, a lot of guys who, of course, were part of that World Series championship team last year, including the MVP, Jose Altuve, the season MVP, not the World Series MVP. That was George Springer. Either way, a lot of talent on this team up and down, and a fun team to watch. Thankfully for us, just in the spring. I'll have to see that once the season gets going. That's the AL West's problem. no doubt about it. But a tough test for Adriesimir Despaigne this afternoon as he gets a tune-up today for sure for the big league campaign, rotation, bullpen, whatever the case is. He is going to be a big part of this pitching staff throughout the summer.
Well, that's right. That's what a number 2 is, and that's what he's going to be. He's going to get the second start of the season. 30-year-old from Havana, Cuba. He did a nice job last year. He pitched in the bullpen, some in the rotation. Solid job all the way around. Fastball, cutter, changeup, curveball. You'll see that from him today. He's had a pretty decent spring. 3.60 ERA. It's his 3rd start. Let's take a look at the Marlins defensively for today's ball game. See Rivera getting the start in left field. Brinson and Maben. Good outfield right there. And we'll get to the start over at third base. Miguel Rojas. Got Adames, Bohr, Talise, along with Despaigne making that start.
Mention the World Series champions. Of course, Cameron Maben was a part of that bunch last year as he says hello to Chris Davinsky and Brad Peacock, some old pals, exchanging pleasantries. You know, I didn't get a chance to catch up with Cameron before the game. I wanted to ask him with the Astros in town if he's had any sort of inkling as to what the ring is going to look like.
Yeah, that's a great question, and he's going to find out soon enough. You usually anticipate that, you know, somewhere at the beginning of the season, certainly in the first half, depends on the organization, but what that ring ultimately will look like.
Yeah, first in franchise history, of course. He doesn't know when he's going to get it. We do know that. He just wants to get it. And frankly, isn't that everybody's goal? First pitch in the afternoon from Despaigne to Alex Bregman is in there for a called strike. Bregman gets the start this afternoon at third base, a big part of this Houston Astros team certainly last year and going forward as they look to do something that no team has done since the 98, 99, 2000 New York Yankees, and that is win back-to-back World Series titles.
You know, Bregman, a big part of that. A lot of big hits in the postseason last year. How about some of that defense that he threw out there as well? He made a bunch of plays during the postseason that certainly helped that Astros cause.
They play him straight up, and again, just a picturesque day. But this is one of those days, as we talked about in the open, it's the last one of the spring for the Miami Marlins. Bags are packed. They're ready to go. Some guys know they're going to Miami. Other guys haven't been informed just yet. Still a lot to be determined. We certainly hope, selfishly, that Don Mattingly and his staff don't wait until 1 hour before the game on Thursday. That's the deadline to make the roster official. I'm sure they have a pretty good plan as to who those 25 will be, as Brinson is sent back a couple of steps into center field and puts it away easily for out number 1. Beautiful day. Boy, I mean, being at the ballpark is nice, but there's a lot of that around here I've noticed in my first month or so down in Miami.
You get baseball in your view right there.
Yeah.
Not only baseball. Listen, right. You can go there on your off days.
The winters are for the beach and the golf course. Gotcha.
There you go. Well, getting back to the points you made about you know, rosters and finding out who's going to make this team. As you see Josh Reddick step in for the Astros, hitting second today. He's had a very, very nice spring. But getting into, you know, into that conversation, you also have to remember, fans, listen, players, things can happen. You're playing a game today. You've got injuries, and you know, again, I mentioned it in the open. Everybody's trying to avoid those injuries, but the point is this: you don't want to announce roster spots, or you know, somebody, maybe a non-roster guy getting a roster spot, and a guy maybe coming off. If that could potentially happen with any organization, until you have to really play your hand, and that's why a lot of these teams wait. It's not really to torture the media or to torture the fan base. It's because there's still time and there's still a few games to be played. And we've already seen this weekend a few guys go down. Chris Sale left yesterday's ball game. Madison Bumgarner was hit on the wrist. It sounds like he's going to miss some time. You had a few guys come out with leg injuries over the weekend, and so if you play your hand too early, you know, you can get stuck.
That one misses to Reddick. He draws the free pass, the one-out single, and that the one-out walk rather, and that will bring up last year's American League MVP Jose Altuve. Around that clubhouse, I think the motto is "Lunch is on Jose."
Well, do explain, please.
Yes, of course.
Get to that.
He signed an extension a week or so ago, so it's it turns what contract that he did have into a 7-year, $163.5 million contract. Of course, well earned, no doubt about that. One of the premier, you see what he's done the last 3 seasons. One of the premier players, offensively, defensively, whatever the case may be, in Major League Baseball. Not the only good number 27. Of course, Mike Trout's pretty good out in Anaheim as well. But a well-earned contract for Jose Altuve, who fouls that one to the right side.
I think he woke up any different the day after he signed that extension?
Probably in a much comfier bed. More plush sheets.
Can you imagine? Wow. Well, congratulations to Jose Altuve, as you mentioned. Well deserved. Yeah, he's going to be in an Astros uniform for quite some time.
Reddick away from first. The 1-1 is in there for a called strike. Ball 2 strikes to Jose Altuve.
Good curveball right there from Despaigne. He doesn't throw it too often. He's used it a little bit more this spring training, but a good off-balance pitch right there against Altuve, who likes to put the ball in play.
You mentioned Despaigne going to get the number 2 spot in the Marlins rotation. And again, this is one of those things where a couple of weeks ago, Jose Urena was announced as the opening day starter. A lot of people thought it was between he and Dan Straley. Urena tabbed as the opening day starter against the Cubs on Thursday. And a called strike 3 for out number 2 here in the first. But with Dan Straley's injury expected to start the season on the DL, as the called strike 3 backs up Altuve.
Right at him from Despaigne. As I mentioned, had a very, very nice spring. You talked about it. He's moving up in the rotation. You think about what's the one thing that really stood out last year, 2017, for Despaigne that helped him get over the hump. Remember, 2015 and 2016 for him were very, very difficult years. Struggled mightily, struggled with the Baltimore Orioles, struggled in San Diego a little bit. And with the Marlins, he was able to kind of turn the corner last year, started throwing more strikes, more effective with that fastball, and you saw it on that 2-strike pitch. Not wasting time, going right at Jose Altuve. Of course, as I mentioned, this is spring training, but you don't worry about it. You want to get after these guys and make good aggressive pitches.
And 0-1 to Carlos Correa on the way from Despaigne. That one, Bender may have slipped out of the grip of Despaigne. A ball in the strike. To get back to Straley, it doesn't sound like it's going to be anything of a long-term scenario with what he's been dealing with on a no-throw period since Monday. MRI showed right forearm inflammation, so that no-throw window extended to about 10 days. So, you know, Don Mattingly mentioned it yesterday. It's really just more the doctors who are trying to slow him down, play this thing safe. Again, not at the moment seem to be anything long-term, but as we get to this point in the spring, so much is made of that opening day roster.
Right.
Who's going to be on it, and it's sometimes gets the feel of, well, if you don't make the opening day roster,
right,
your season's shot. And that's not the case at all. Reddick goes, throw from Talise, right on the bag, got him. A strike from Talise to catch Reddick and end the inning. Right on the money. Here come the Marlins. Hollinsworth scoreless through the top half of the first inning, and now the Miami Marlins will step to the dish against Dallas Keuchel. Here is the lineup that they put out there this afternoon against the Astros. A split squad for the Fish, as some of the squad is also in Port St. Lucie taking on the New York Mets. But Brinson and Rojas, solid springs. 339 average for Brinson to start his Marlins career, and certainly hopes to translate that into the real game starting on Thursday. First pitch swinging and a ground ball as Correa waits for a hop. One away. So a ground ball from Dallas Keuchel.
Surprise?
Stop the presses.
Well, listen, that's what Dallas Keuchel is. One of the best in the business at getting the ground ball, and you saw it there on the first pitch of the ball game. Listen, two-time All-Star, 3 Gold Gloves, a Cy Young Award winner in 2015. That's Dallas Keuchel, coming off a real good season, having a good spring. 174 ERA, as I mentioned. Sinker, slider, cutter, lots of strikes, lots of action, lots of ground balls.
And now Miguel Rojas takes a called strike.
And no surprises. We mentioned on the first pitch of the ball game, the best sinker in the game, at least in my opinion. His two-seam fastball, it produces a 76.8% ground ball rate. That's absolutely astounding when you really think about it.
It really is. And the thing is,
he's a starter. I mean, it's like, you know, even when you rank him and you put him in there with some of the, you know, the Zach Brittons and the guys of the game who pitch out of the bullpen, you know, to do this every day the way that he does it is really amazing.
He's fun to watch. Certainly not fun to face, as the Marlins will see today. But fun to watch if you're a baseball fan. And he's been doing this for a couple of years now. You mentioned the 2015 AL Cy Young. He was 20-8 that year with a 2.48 ERA. 232 innings pitched. And in this day and age where those 300 inning pitchers are few and far between, they don't even exist anymore. Really.
They're mystical characters in some regards.
You know, back
Wait, what?
Everybody
300 innings?
8-9 innings. It was like, yeah, ho hum, no big deal.
That's what you used to shoot for. Not so much anymore. The game has definitely changed. And people will tell you certainly for the better. The bullpen's a big part of what everybody does. And Houston Astros have got a bullpen.
Of course, strikeouts are king in the game today, but it's those guys that are able to induce that soft contact. That aforementioned soft contact. 2 away.
All right, let's take a look at the Astros defensively before Keuchel gets another ground ball. We're not looking there. Davis, Marisnik gets the start in center field. Boy, he's a good one. Reddick gets the start over in right. Bregman, third baseman. Correa, Altuve, Gonzalez, and behind the plate. He's going to get that back going, trying to get that back going this spring. Along with Dallas Keuchel on the mound. Now, you mentioned an uncomfortable at bat against Keuchel, and that's kind of what it is. He's in my day and age, we used to say this about Greg Maddux. He was an uncomfortable 0 for 4. You know, he wasn't going to blow 97 by you and embarrass you or humiliate you or make you, you know, walk back to the dugout with your head down. You just go 0 for 4 and ground out 3 times, and you'd be ticked off.
Soft line drive that falls in front of Reddick in right field. A 2-out base hit for Garrett Cooper.
Nice inside-out swing, great approach. Got a sinker baller on the mound, opposite hand, meaning he's a right-handed hitter, lefty on the mound. If you want to elevate and get the ball off the ground, you stay inside the baseball and pull your hands through. So nice approach right there. It's the first Marlins hit of the ball game.
And that'll bring up Justin Bour, and we'll see Keuchel work out of the stretch for the first time this afternoon. You mentioned that ground ball rate, which is over 75%. Sometimes when they stay up, when the sinkers stay up, they do get hit. I mean, this guy doesn't get hit much, but 10 doubles and 8 home runs on the 258 balls in play off of that sinker last year.
In this day and age, and you do see a little bit more of this, that really does explain particularly the right-handers and that little uppercut swing, which we do talk about. I'm not going to dare say that guys go up there and try and lift and separate, but it is a phrase that even my generation threw around rather loosely. You know, guys, trying to get underneath that sinker so that you can elevate it. So you're right. If it is up just a little bit, it's not guys talking about squaring it up and getting a line drive. You're talking about guys that are kind of meeting that sinker on its way down, that swing path on its way up, and able to drive it up into the air.
3 balls and no strikes to Justin Bohr, who gets the green light and swings through it. Now 3-1. So Brinson's average over 300. Rojas's average over 300 with that hit. Garrett Cooper's average over 300 in the spring. Justin Bohr, however, is at 171. But, this is one of those classic cases where there's not too much concern, certainly from him.
You don't worry about the big guy. Justin Bohr is not and again, he'd tell you this, I'll certainly tell it to you, he doesn't like spring training in terms of the performance that it seems like it's there. Last year he had some of the same issues. He just has not, and some guys take a little bit longer to warm up. What do we know about Justin Bohr? Had a fantastic season last year, great numbers across the board. In fact, we were trying to think, man, 30 and 100, if he didn't get hurt and miss those 40 games, probably was very realistic that it was going to happen. But slow April, that's the point I'm getting at. Hopefully that's not the case this year, but spring training is not always good to him.
And now it's Cameron Maybin. Takes a look at ball one. And Maybin, part of that World Series championship team last year with the Houston Astros. In his second stint with the Marlins. 30 years old, a first-round pick in 2005. Still looks young.
Still can run.
In terrific shape, great athleticism.
I think he's got a real good opportunity to take advantage. I guess I look at it in this regard. Last year the Marlins were blessed with D. Gordon, certainly atop the lineup in his speed. To me, Cameron Maybin represents that opportunity to run, and I think he's going to be in a few spots in the lineup to do just that.
He can hit 2 into the gap in left center field. That will bring around Cooper. And heading toward third is Bohr on the 2-out double. For Cameron Maybin, it's 1-0 Marlins.
Definition of a 2-out rally. Good to see. Maybin get something up in the zone. Check this out. We talked about it. The ability to elevate when that ball's up just a bit. And it is. See Maybin, nice swing as he stays head down through the ball and finds the gap in left center. He's going to score Cooper quite easily. Justin Bohr making his way over to third base. We mentioned not getting having anybody push it too hard right here today. Justin Bohr maybe would have had a shot at scoring if it were the regular season, but today, guys, do your thing, get your swings down, and be safe.
That's right. So an early 1-0 lead against Dallas Keuchel, and that'll bring up Tomas Talise, the catcher today. Talise, part of that catching core that may see a little extra time at the beginning of the season, just in terms of what's going on with JT Realmuto. Low back bruise that he suffered on March 11th, hasn't caught pitching or swung a bat since. So while the Marlins are hopeful, but it is not necessarily likely that Realmuto will be on that opening day roster. But again, for a guy like JT, who's been really about as durable as anyone behind the plate this side of Yadier Molina the last few years, again, it's that long-term approach. And really just now, it's when you talk about whether or not he's on the opening day roster, it's really just a matter of where he's at with the swings and the catching and the ups and the downs, as opposed to again, a long-term issue.
That is the case, especially with a few players in camp and around baseball right now. The position players, making sure that their legs are underneath them, that they're ready to go and ready for the grind. That will be the case for JT Realmuto.
A 1-2 to Talise, and a slow roller to second base. 3 ground ball outs in the inning, but a single, a walk, and a double have the Marlins up 1-0. RBI double against his former squad as the Marlins up 1-0 through 1 here in Jupiter. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth. The final tune-up before the Marlins head to Miami. An exhibition game against the University of Miami coming up on Tuesday, workout Wednesday, and then it all starts for real, the 2018 season, on Thursday afternoon against the Chicago Cubs. The only game in town for about a half an hour as well. 12:40 first pitch. Next one is at 1:10. Adrian Despaigne with the delivery there to Carlos Correa, who was at the plate when Josh Reddick was caught stealing to end things in the first. So a fresh count here for Correa, one of the premier talents in Major League Baseball. Skies this one out toward right center field. A long run for Brinson, who reaches up to make the catch.
How about it, young man? Already showing off the leather. Tip of the hat from Adrian Despaigne, and well deserved. Take one more quick look. Watch the break, that quick drop step. You see it to the left side, able to kind of pursue it and get back to the wall. By now he knows his wall here in Jupiter. Played enough games on this field, able to make that catch. Big first out here in the second.
Well, that'll bring up Marwin Gonzalez, and that is really one of the many things that Lewis Brinson brings to the table. And again, we mentioned it the other night, that sort of talent, that sort of skill set, of course, doesn't grow on trees, but that is what the Marlins are hoping to get a lot of. And we'll talk with the president of baseball operations, Michael Hill, in the fourth inning today. That's what they're trying to collect, is that athletic, middle of the diamond type. They're basically taking any talented shortstop, center fielder that they could get, knowing that at some point in time, if they've got to fan out to the corners, they can do that. But those are the types of players that this team is trying to collect and sprinkle them about the defensive diamond.
Ideally, you would like to, I mean, certainly Marlins Park speaks to part of this conversation. That big outfield, you've got to defend it. You've got to.
This one a little bit more routine for Lewis Brinson. Flexibility is the ultimate luxury at Marlins Park. Join the Marlins this season for games against the Cubs, Red Sox, Mets, Dodgers, and Yankees. You'll enjoy superior hospitality, incredible food options, and exclusive experiences. 10-game plans are now available. Visit marlins.com/premium for more information. A couple of flyouts to Brinson, and now Brian McCann, who takes a ball outside. McCann has scuffled this spring to the tune of an .042 average. So he too is looking for opening day, so that the scoreboard once again reads triple zeros.
Resets for everybody.
Resets,
right?
for everybody.
I had a couple spring trainings where I didn't want that to happen. I had a couple spring trainings, probably more than a couple spring trainings, where much like Brian McCann, you're like, yeah, that's good. Let's reset this.
But then the game is on to start filling up the column too.
Of course.
You know, then you go 3, 4, 5 games without a home run or an RBI, and then that zero seems to get bigger.
And you just try to keep that out of your mind, and you just go out there and try to put together good at bats, try to make the most of each and every opportunity. But you're right. I mean, it's so that's what April represents for so many of these players.
Hit well down the right field line, but hooking foul.
So dangerous and such a challenge to keep your mind just kind of ready on putting out there good at bats. Don't get too involved in looking up at the scoreboard in mid-April or 3 weeks in and, you know, saying to yourself, okay, well, I haven't done this yet, or I need to be doing more of this.
Out to right, and Maben puts it away. 3 fly balls to retire the Astros. 1-2-3 in the second. 1-0 Marlins. by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. What do we got there?
Guy's got a pretty good view.
It's a parrot, huh?
Yeah, look low on the nest. He's popped a hole through the bottom.
I thought the only parrot was at Pirates camp in Bradenton. Maybe not.
Correct.
All right. Eric Campbell, Christian Adames, and Yadiel Rivera, bottom third of the Marlins lineup here in the bottom of the second against Dallas Keuchel. A 1-0 lead on the Cameron Maben RBI double in the first inning. Campbell at third base today. Brian Anderson will get the start on opening day. That was announced a couple of weeks ago with Martin Prado working his way back from injury. Brian Anderson is playing up the road at Port St. Lucie today. Again, it's a split squad for the Marlins today. As I look, they are currently in the middle of the 6th inning right now, trailing the Mets 3-2. And the aforementioned Brian Anderson is a walk and a strikeout today, so an 0 for 1.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Marlins fans might say, you know, why a split squad game today? You're at the end of spring training here. Well, you know, the Marlins, as much as anybody, need to get as many looks at these young players as they can, and having a couple of games today certainly may factor into some of these decisions over the next 24 to 48 hours.
Ground ball specialist Dallas Keuchel got 3 of them in the first inning. All around the horn. 1 to short, 1 to third, and 1 to second. But it was the 3 batters in between. Garrett Cooper with a walk. Garrett Cooper a single. Bohr with the walk, and then the RBI from Maben.
Well, I think a good offensive approach from the Marlins on the collectively staying inside the ball, using the gaps, going the other way. One instance, Cooper in a real nice piece of hitting to get that inning started.
Popped up right side. Giving chase is Marwin Gonzalez, but that will fall just foul. So it's Keuchel today. In recent days, it's been Scherzer. They've seen Luis Severino. They have seen the Marlins, of course, a lot of what teams would consider to be the aces of their staff throughout this spring. Yeah. So again, when you look at the fact, well, yeah, it's spring, but they're 15-10. Say what you will about the wins and losses, I get it, but they're up against some pretty good pitching.
Well, Don Mattingly's mentioned it to me and certainly to the media a few different times. Nice pitch by Keuchel there as it pours in on the hands of Campbell. His first strikeout of the day. But Don Mattingly had mentioned it, and Miguel Rojas certainly has mentioned it to us as well, you know, that they've performed well. They've been real happy with their approach. Listen, guys are in spring training, you're working on things. There's not always a script or a game plan, or you know, necessarily everybody's bringing their A game, if you will, to what you see in a spring training game. But for the Marlins, there's a lot to take from this. You're right, winning matters a little bit. You're not going to take those 15 or 16 wins with you to Miami, but you're going to say to yourself, we had a productive spring. We had good at-bats. A few guys that are now on our roster have earned their spots by going out there and putting together good at-bats against some of the game's best.
And that has been the key, whether it was Don Mattingly talking about it today, Derek Jeter when we talked to him on Friday, just the fact that there is a competition at many positions. And again, when we talk with the president of baseball operations, Michael Hill, in the 4th inning today, we'll talk about that layering of talent that they're trying to build here with this organization. And again, ultimately, the World Series championship is given to the big league squad. We know that. But if you have that depth
right, and
your minor league system, you know, the guys who are at the big league level, they know, as Donnie told us the other day, they know they've got to work every day.
Right.
Because there's somebody that's in AAA who's scratching and clawing for that job too. And there's been so much talk about the competition at camp being a big reason as to why, as that one falls fair and rattles off the wall. A 2-base hit for Christian Adames with 1 out here in the 1st inning. That competition has been huge.
A great swing from Adames, the 2nd base hit for the Marlins, going to right field. You see it hit the chalk line right there. Nice job. This is all about the approach. Look at the head. From shoulder to shoulder, his eyes stayed right on the baseball, stayed right with it, and went the other way. Real nice approach. Good start here for the Marlins as they look to add on.
Now Yadiel Rivera, the left fielder this afternoon. Well, infield outfield combination, when you talk about the athleticism, also that versatility that Rivera possesses.
Rivera, a huge day yesterday, 3 for 4 with the home run, 3 RBIs. Real nice day. Finishing up his spring very strong. See the numbers. You mentioned all the internal competition. We've talked to everybody. Denbo, we talked to Derek Jeter, Michael Hill. I mean, everybody's talked about it. This is what we're trying to create, internal competition. What I would say is this, kind of looking at, all of Major League Baseball. You've got an opportunity here. If you're a young player, a young Marlin, you've got an opportunity. You believe in your heart at the Major League level, and there may not be too many roadblocks in your way to that opportunity. So it becomes taking hold of that opportunity. If you're a second baseman in the Houston Astros system right now, how are you feeling about your chances?
I'm getting used to bus rides.
Again, that's the point,
Right.
And that's the opportunity that the Marlins possess and that we're going to get to see open up this year, is that there's going to be a chance for a lot of guys to go out there and shine, and maybe a few of these guys take hold of that opportunity and turn themselves into blooming and blossoming Major League ball players. We used to talk about all the time, like the organization you wanted to get drafted by. You wanted to get drafted by the team that was going to present the greatest opportunity to the big leagues. When I played, it's funny because
Correa in the hole to first, dug out by Gonzalez to get the out. Boy, Correa is a slick fielding shortstop, no doubt about it, but a nice play on the other end by Gonzalez for out number 2.
You see him playing up the middle, somewhat of a slow developing play, but you see the ground he's able to cover from the outfield grass, and then the arm strength. My goodness, even on the hop. Rivera hustling all the way out of the box. You see that quick release. That's what got him at first. Gonzalez able to pick that short hop quite easily. Yeah, so in my generation, it was, you didn't want to get drafted by the Yankees. Now Derek Jeter, granted, I mean, boy, he just right on the way through, got up to the Yankees and went on and had a Hall of Fame career. But you understand, it was the ideas. Big league rosters filled, man. There's nowhere to go.
Lewis Brinson takes outside. Nothing official yet in terms of whether or not Brinson will make the opening day roster, but we'll say this, he has certainly made life easy for him in a sense of maybe making any sort of decision for the Marlins. Hitting .333, couple of home runs, 9 RBIs as he pops this one up on the infield. He's played stellar defense as well. That's already been on display as Correa puts it away for out number 3. 1-0 Marlins through 2. Emphasis on deep. This one over the batter's eye. How do you like that?
I think it landed in the parking lot here in Jupiter.
It might have.
Went over the top of the batter's eye. Look at the extension. Wow, that's great to see.
Dead
swing
center.
right there. Yeah, that's impressive stuff. Remember,
410 straightaway center.
we're not in Arizona, partner. We are in Florida. Humidity is a factor down here.
That's right. That's right. That one right now, again in Port St. Lucie, in the bottom of the 6th inning with the Mets up 3-2. But here in Jupiter, Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth back for the top of the 3rd, as it's Evan Gattis, J.D. Davis, and Jake Marisnick due up against Drisamer Despagne here in the 3rd. 1-0 Marlins on a Cameron Maben RBI double back in the 1st, as Gattis takes ball 1. Gattis, the DH today, figures to see a lot of time at DH throughout the season, with Brian McCann getting the bulk of the starts behind home plate.
He possesses some tremendous right-handed power. Reminds me of Lumberjack.
A little bit, yep.
Yeah,
I can see that.
He's got that little look to him, doesn't he? Right? I mean, if he had an axe in his hand, would it be a whole lot different?
Put it this way, I've never messed with him. Okay. Yeah, that's not a bat. That's actually a log.
No batting gloves.
Came up with the Braves and has certainly settled in nicely with the Astros. Fouls this one off down the right field side. You know, earlier we talked about the layering of talent for the Marlins, and really look no further than the team that they're up against today in the Houston Astros. Is just a perfect example of what you can do when you are building an organization from the bottom up. I mean, this is an Astros team that, as Gattis just shakes it off, not probably much of an issue for him at all.
Mosquito bite.
Yep.
Yeah, this is an off-speed pitch that backs up out of the hand of Despagne. Despagne will change arm angles at a lot of different times throughout a start. And you see it there as Gattis kind of looks out to the mound. He certainly knows it. It was not on purpose. There was no intent behind it. Just lost that slider as he dropped down a little bit.
But this is an Astros organization that went 162 and 324 in the years from 2011 to 2013. Their best season in that span, they were 56 and 106. Their best season, they lost 106 games.
Right.
And what they did was, again, rip it down to the studs, figure out how to build a farm system. Obviously, they had a cornerstone player in Jose Altuve, and he's without question turned into something. But the other pieces that were brought in, drafted, developed, guys like Correa, guys like Bregman, and then the finishing touches, those clubhouse guys, for an organization that talks so much about the analytics and all these measurable things. There is a certain thing for A.J. Hinch's squad that was different last year, even though they've been to the playoffs in 2015. A little different. Guys like Reddick, guys like Carlos Beltran, Brian McCann. So it can be done, and it was done to the tune of a World Series championship as J.D. Davis strikes out for out number 1 here in the 3rd.
And that was the slider that Despagne was looking for a couple pitches ago. Let's check it out one more time. This one he gets right on top of it. You see that late movement down in the zone. He was completely fooled by that. The first out in this inning. Yes, you're absolutely right about the building of an organization. That's really what it comes down to. See Jake Marisnick, former Marlins, step in. And that's the case, and that's exactly what the Marlins are trying to do. They're trying to build an organization, the word sustainability, with the idea that you go to spring training year in and year out and you got a chance to win. And that's what the Astros clearly are all about. Now, winning the World Series is at the forefront of this. You want to win the World Series. You're not just saying, okay, well, we're going to make decisions that are, more moderate, more under control, or we're not going to go out there and, get the key pieces that maybe we need through some trades or free agents. Remember, they went out and got Justin Verlander last year.
Yes,
so,
they did.
I mean, they're in a position to not only make those decisions, but continue to develop from the minor league system.
As Marisnick down the left field line, that's foul.
I mean, you look at him this spring, and I think this is a pretty good point. I know Astro fans would certainly agree with this, but they've got 18 wins this spring.
Yeah.
They won the World Series last year. They played an extra month of a season, and they showed up to spring training ready to go. A.J. Hinch has got to be thrilled with what he's seen so far. when you look at the roster, I mean, most of these guys, most of their starters have about 39, 40 at-bats this spring. Nobody's been taxed. They've got a lot of depth, and they're still winning games.
So much talk about last year and how long it took for the Cubs to get over that hump.
Well, the hangover, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we've seen that hangover basically going back to, I mean, let's be fair. I mean, you know, unless you want to look at the Giants and use them as an example where they won 3 World Series in 5 years, right? But it was every other year. with the idea that the following season after the World Series was a bit of a, you know, a downslope. You go all the way back to the Yankees. They're the last ones to win. I believe the Yankees were the last to win back-to-back World Series. So you got to go back almost 20 years.
It's not easy to win back-to-back. At least that's the way it seems nowadays. As you mentioned, the Giants, their ups were great. No doubt about it. Their down years were not so good. This one out towards center field. Monte Harrison taking over in center field, and we'll put that one away. We'll talk plenty of Harrison throughout the day as well. Another one of the offseason acquisitions, and just a terrific talent acquired by the Miami Marlins this offseason.
So far today, Despaigne doing what he does well. As I talked about that improvement going back to 2017, he's really improved on that BABIP, batting average on balls in play. When he was struggling in 15 and 16, boy, that number was through the roof. High 300s. Teams were hitting 303, 337 against them last year, 283. So impressive stuff. Not afraid to pitch to contact inside the strike zone, and you've seen that here today. Only the 1 strikeout. So, or excuse me, let me correct that. 2 strikeouts in the ball game, but you've seen the fly ball to center field, what, a handful of times already today.
Alex Bregman, who has one of those flyouts to center, as he takes a look at a called strike 2. Marlins hoping for some sustained success in the years to come, as are the Houston Astros. Mentioned the locking up of Jose Altuve, the acquisition last year of Justin Verlander. Oh, by the way, they also brought in Garrett Cole. Much more on the Stros, but a 3rd strikeout for Despaigne, 1-0. A beautiful day in South Florida. 1-0 Marlins as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth. 1-0 Fish on a Cameron Maben RBI double back in the 1st. Miguel Rojas, Garrett Cooper, Justin Bour, 2, 3, and 4 due up against Dallas Keuchel, who has been as advertised. Some soft contact throughout the afternoon, the early part of this afternoon. His final tune-up for the 2018 season. As Miguel Rojas takes ball 1. Let's go downstairs. Lewis Brinson is done for the day, and pleasure to be joined by Mr. Brinson. Lewis, how you doing, pal?
Good. How are you guys?
Very good. Very good. So, of course, much was made of the offseason headlines this season and all the guys that are gone. But you made the headlines as the guy that's not just here, but back, a local guy.
Right,
playing for your favorite team growing up.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I tell everybody, this is an honor, man. This is a dream come true, literally, for me, to be playing for my hometown team, get to put on that jersey. Even though I grew up, it was the Florida Marlins, but, to put on that hometown jersey, man, in front of my family, in front of my friends, everybody that's watched me work so hard to get to this point, like I said, it's a dream come true.
Garrett Cooper takes a called strike, and on that jersey, on the back of it, is number 9. I know you grew up a Juan Pierre fan, and it didn't really take too much convincing, right, to get number 9?
No. They asked me what number I wanted. 25 is my number, but Tazawa had that. He's got some years on me, so, I had to skip that. But, my next option was number 9. Obviously, Juan Pierre being my guy, my idol growing up. I asked him if it was all right with him, and then I asked Silv if it was all right if I had number 9. They said, yeah, let's do it. So I'm wearing number 9.
Yeah, JP is certainly one of the best. Lewis, nice to meet you. This is Todd Hollinsworth, and it's been a pleasure to watch you this spring.
Thank you.
You're a very, very impressive young man, and I know the Marlins organization is pretty happy to have you on board. I think what I want to ask you really maybe might take you back to your years with the Brewers. Who you been hanging out with, man? You've come over here, and you just impressed everybody on and off the field.
No, on this team, everybody. These guys have made it very easy for me to transition from one organization to another. Getting traded for the second time it can be tough getting traded just one time, but to be traded a second time as fly ball, all right. But getting traded a second time, it can be kind of tough. But these guys in this clubhouse have made it very easy for me to transition into a new organization, new philosophy, new way of playing baseball, so to speak. But, I hang out with Just, I hang out with, JB, I hang out with Cam, Cooper, obviously him coming over from the Brewers, Yadiel coming over from the Brewers, Monte, he's in here coming over from the Brewers. But, I hang out with everybody. I can get along with just about anybody, guys.
I follow you on Instagram, and obviously you know the lay of the land around here, no doubt about being a Coral Springs guy.
Right.
But I've seen all the different games, the Panthers games, the Heat games, hanging out. I mean, you're enjoying life right about now, hanging out with Monte Harrison to see his brother.
Yeah, that was awesome, by the way. That was awesome that the Miami Heat, the Miami Marlins, the Marlins put that together for him and us to go to the game and watch Monte's brother, playing the NBA. That's a dream come true for him and his family, and Monte getting his dream together with the Marlins. Hopefully playing the big leagues with the Marlins, and just to make his Marlins debut or his big league debut. To watch his brother make his NBA debut, even though that wasn't, but to get to watch his brother up close and personal. They put us down on the court. It was a fun time. But I like baseball, or I like basketball. I like hockey. Even though I'm kind of learning the the rules of hockey, I don't really understand when I'm watching it too much. But I like going to different games, different sports games, especially being from down here, being a Heat fan growing up. Now I can support another team, another professional sports team.
Be a 2-2 pitch here to Justin Bohr, a swing and a miss. Well, unfortunately, we got to let you go now, but I know that we'll be talking to you quite a bit throughout the season.
All right,
Lewis Brinson, appreciate the time. Through
Thank you,
three
Lewis.
here in Jupiter, 1-0, Marlins on top.
at the ballpark with your friends, family, colleagues, or teammates. Groups of 20 or more receive discounted pricing and opportunities for exclusive game day experiences. For more information, visit marlins.com/groups.
Top of the fourth we go. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth. A 1-0 Marlins lead as they look to finish off their spring training, their Grapefruit League action on a high note. Again, one more tune-up. Day off tomorrow. On Monday, a exhibition game against the University of Miami at Marlins Park. That's on Tuesday. A workout Wednesday. And then the opener of the 2018 season against the Cubs on Thursday as Tomas Talis took a good piece of that foul ball off the bat of Josh Reddick. Not sure if he got his knee or his foot. But while he gets a look, Chris Diaz takes over at shortstop. See, chats things up with Christian Adames. And Eric Jagielo, the new first baseman, taking over for Justin Bour, who struck out to end things in the bottom of the third. Again, a split squad for the Marlins today. The other portion of their roster is in Port St. Lucie, where it's a 4-2 Mets lead in the top of the seventh. Check that 4-3. I think your app is faster than mine. You on a different internet than me?
Keeping my eye on that.
A strikeout, the fourth of the afternoon for Despaigne. And that'll bring up Jose Altuve.
Despaigne has looked good this afternoon. His 48th pitch. Seen the big breaking ball. Breaking ball's making a comeback. Certainly was last year. No surprise. Despaigne only threw it about 4 or 5% of the time. He's actually used it a little bit more today. Interesting. I'm going to ask him at the end of the ball game if he plans on using it as much as we've seen it this afternoon. It's actually been a pretty good pitch for him. Cut fastball has worked for him. Also the changeup. Very good going up against a opening day lineup the Astros have sent over here.
Ground ball toward third. That's Campbell. And there are two away. Of course, opening day is coming up on Thursday, and we are certainly looking forward to it against the Chicago Cubs. Garage is open at 9 a.m. Entrances open 10:30 a.m. and fans are encouraged to arrive early. You can prepay for parking at marlins.com/parking. Pre-game festivities begin at 11 a.m. An on-field performance by DJ Khaled, and Todd's still trying to work his way into that performance.
I'm going to be there early.
I know, but you're trying to be on the field for it. Yeah, what I'm hearing.
I'm going to probably leave the house about 7 o'clock.
Yeah, me too. All I know is I can't be late for my first opening day. That's all. I might even sleep at the ballpark Tuesday after the University of Miami game. I might just hang out, not get stuck in any traffic, not oversleep. I won't be sleeping Wednesday night anyway. So what's the point? But no, it's going to be fun. DJ Khaled is performing the new single, Just Getting Started, a new Marlins anthem. And if you haven't heard it, you got to check that out. That'll make your foot tap, no doubt about it. That's one way to put it. Two balls and a strike to Carlos Correa, who flew out to center field in the second inning. Now here in the fourth inning, he fouls that one back.
Michael Hill will be joining us here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Looking forward to that conversation.
The president of baseball operations, who's been busy this offseason. I think we can certainly
be willing to bet he's going to be busy over the next 24 hours.
He might be as well.
We can get him. I'm going to see if I can pinch him hard enough, maybe get him to tell us something.
Two balls and two strikes to Correa. That one misses inside, and the count runs full.
Could be a Lewis Brinson or something.
Yeah, again, no opening day roster set just yet. If we had
we
more...
know why, but we just like that commitment.
Yeah, I know. Correa skies one left field. Deep is Rivera, looking up, leaping in just out of his reach. A solo home run for Carlos Correa to tie things up here in the fourth.
A good example of the power that is in this Astros lineup. Big breaking ball. Pastime, Correa. Watch him keep his hands back on this breaking ball as he recognizes it back in the zone. Watch the reaction. See that front foot down. Yep, just waited long enough, and you see it kind of drop in there, and then he just kind of unloads. See the extension right there as he finishes his swing. High arcing fly ball just out of the reach. Good effort there.
Marwin Gonzalez takes ball one, about as consistent as they come. Carlos Correa, 3 years in the big leagues. A rookie of the year in 2015, 22, 20, 24 home runs each of the last 3 seasons. As he connects on the 2-out solo home run here in the fourth inning.
Marwin Gonzalez, certainly a breakout season last year. Big reason why this Astro lineup became as productive as it was. And you've got to have a combination. You mentioned Correa. I think it's interesting how they're hitting, right next to each other in the lineup. I mean, Correa represented the future all along, and when they drafted him, they knew that he was going to be a big part of why they would win. Marwin Gonzalez, a little different in that he's kind of more of a player that could have gone in a few different directions, and then all of a sudden just busted out last year and became an everyday answer.
And again, it's that versatility that is in vogue in the game right now. It used to be like Ben Zobrist, and that was about it. But now there's a lot of these super utility guys who,
Right. The conversation was always isolated. I think even growing up, I remember the name Tony Phillips. I mean, he was a guy who kind of did that, and it was very unique to what he did. But you didn't see it everywhere in baseball, nor did, multiple organizations look for those types of players. Today, in a lot of ways, you're building your roster that way. Your extras, you want your extras. You're not just saying, oh, okay, he's going to get, 50 pinch hits and maybe a few starts along the way. A lot of your bench players, you're thinking 200, 300 at-bats.
Gonzalez drills this one deep right field. And that one is gone. Back-to-back home runs for the Astros here in the fourth inning, and it's 2-1 Houston.
Back-to-back home runs for Drismer Despaigne. Back-to-back breaking balls that were recognized by Astros hitters and turned around. I'm sure we'll show it to you again. Let's see another one of these. Saw the first one to Correa. Let's watch it again. He does not want to leave it up there. See where that kind of comes into the hitting zone. It's right about the belt, maybe a little bit lower, but still. Recognition of the hitter, the timing, the swing, and the finish. Marwin Gonzalez.
Oh, 0-1 now to Brian McCann, who is looking for his second hit of the spring. After flying out to right field to end things in the second inning, that spring average dipping to .040. But no concerns with a veteran bat like this as he pops this one up into shallow right center field. Who's going to get it? It's Christian Adames for out number 3. When we come back in the bottom of the fourth inning, the president of baseball operations, Michael Hill, will join us. A couple of thoughts on the roster when we come back. Astros after the back-to-back home runs in the top of the fourth inning. So a little work to do for the Marlins here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Happy to be joined by the president of baseball operations for the Marlins. Michael Hill joins us. Michael, always a pleasure to talk with you, pal.
Always a pleasure to see you guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also fun to have the bags packed to head south today, right? Like you're gearing up for it.
It feels like we just got here. That's the strange part. Spring training has gone by very fast, but we're excited to get south and get things going in Miami.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not asking for more spring training, are you?
No.
Okay, no. Good. Just checking.
These guys get down here earlier and earlier every year, especially the guys from the north, man. They want to get out of all that snow.
And it's different now. Guys come to spring training already ready.
Right.
You know, it's not like in years past where guys needed spring training to get themselves in shape, get themselves ready to go. It's a year-round preparation for them. So they
Right. I tell people all the time the story, like, you know, when my generation of players, there was always a conversation about some guy. There's always a player who showed up like at the deadline, you know, with that mandatory day. I think it's, you know, towards the end of February. I can't remember what day it was, but there's a day where every guy's supposed to be in camp, and every year there was always one guy who he's like, yeah, you know, I'm going to show up at the 11th hour, and that's what I'm going to do. Today's player, man, they're here 2 weeks early.
Exactly. And they're ready to go. Ready to go 10 days early.
As Cameron Mavid just struck out for out number one, Tomas Talis now steps in. I think, Michael, it's been fair to say that the Marlins have had some headlines this winter. From your perspective, going from 2017 now into 2018, from your chair, how have you seen the development and the next step of this organization?
It's been exciting, Paul, when you think about what we've done. Since trade deadline last summer, 27 new players into the organization, and when we got to spring training, that was probably what was most exciting, to get to see these guys live and in person. They're not on video, they're not scouting reports. You can see them, see what they're capable of doing, have their scouting reports come to life, and that's what's been great, as we continue to build our organization and return the championships back to South Florida to see the talent that's going to be a part of that.
Michael, we've talked about already during today's broadcast the 24 to 48 hours that lead to what that opening day roster might look like. Is this a stressful time for you, or is it something that's like, hey, listen, it's a work in progress. We've been talking about it all spring long.
Well, the one thing when you have your roster and you have your roster construction meetings, it's always plan A, B, C, all the way to plan Z, and you always have to plan for whatever comes your way. You know that there's going to be things that come up. There's going to be awkward plays at second base where your starting catcher goes back to the base weird, or a starting pitcher feels something, and then you have to give him a couple days. So that's part of the game, part of what we have to do in our staff, and that's really why you need so much depth, because you never know what's going to happen, but you want to be prepared when that thing inevitably happens.
And of course, referring to JT Realmuto at second base and starting catcher scenario, as Tomas Talis, today's starting catcher, grounds out to shortstop for out number 2. Where is JT Realmuto right now?
He's progressing and feeling better every day, and that's a good thing. You don't want anything long term. You don't want anything that may create some issues down the road. He's doing more functional activity, and that's where you know that he's going to be back out there and back helping us win ball games.
One of the big bright spots, obviously, in camp has been Lewis Brinson. We got to talk to him about an inning ago, and boy, oh boy, he is an impressive young 23-year-old. You had to have liked what you've seen in the spring.
He's been one of the bright spots. Actually, there's been so many good things. The team in general has played very well. It's been great energy. Something that Don Mattingly and his staff started from day one, and how we approach the game and how we were going to do things on a daily basis to go out there and compete and put ourselves in a position to win every day. And Lewis is taking full advantage of that opportunity. We've seen the speed, we've seen the power, we've been able to see how graceful he can be defensively and covering so much ground in center field. So we're excited that he's part of the organization, and exciting to see what the future holds for
And
him.
wouldn't you agree? And I think this is a huge key ingredient to the growth of an organization, is not just watching a young player succeed between the white lines, but I mean, he's been out in the community, he's been active, he's been involved, and he's also been a role model to even other young players in the organization.
Definitely, and that's something that we have preached and stressed throughout the organization. We had something that started before spring training. I think you both have heard of it, our first captain's camp, where we brought in our top 24 of our top prospects. And the message that we started from day one, that is that, you know, you're not just a Marlins baseball player, you're part of this community, and that comes with responsibility. And it's not just on the field, it's being a good teammate, it's being out in the community and doing things for the people of South Florida. And that's something that we start with our minor league players. We continue up through the major leagues, and to have Lewis Brinson, someone born and raised in Coral Springs, and fully knows, you know, what the community is about, to have him out front and doing a lot of those things is great to see.
Eric Campbell with the base hit that squirted through the middle of the diamond for a base hit. And now Christian Adames unable to check his swing and is out at first base. I know you're busy trying to wrap up the roster before Thursday, so we'll let you go, Michael. So just so much left on the table. We'll have plenty of time.
We'll pick it up later.
Thanks,
Right.
Michael. We appreciate it.
Guys.
Thanks to Michael Hill. Back to Jupiter in a moment. Top of the fifth inning, Paul Severino and Todd Hollinsworth in the broadcast booth. Down on the field, Cameron Maben joins us. Cameron, thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, guys. How we doing today?
We are doing all right. How are you doing?
Great.
Getting ready?
Great.
Getting ready to head south or what?
Great. Today's a great day.
Today's a great day because of that ringing double you had early in the ball game, or because today is, well, we call it getaway day,
Yeah, man,
right? Spring
I'm
training.
more excited about getaway day. I can't lie. You know, we love taking good swings, man, and having good at-bats, but today is a great day. What a beautiful day to leave.
Absolutely. Fortunately, though, as a Marlin, it's not that long of a trip down to Miami.
That's an even better thing, right? How beautiful is that? Nice cruising ride down south would be very nice.
Absolutely.
Only team in baseball that goes south for the regular season.
That's right. That's right. Well, Todd mentioned your ringing double. I want to mention the ring that you'll be wearing. Of course, a member of the Houston Astros last year in the World Series. You were getting some work done before the game, and I wanted to ask you, so of course I'll ask you live now, have you any inkling as to what that ring might look like?
You know what? I don't. It's going to be a nice surprise, one of those nice, surprise birthday gifts or whatever you want to call it. But I haven't seen it, man. A lot of talk has been going on. I still keep in touch with all of those guys in the dugout. And from what they say through the grapevine, it's a beautiful piece. So I'm excited to get it, man. And what a great experience, man. A great group of guys over there, man. And, those are my brothers forever. We're forever connected, those guys over there.
Well, Cameron, I think bringing that over here to this Marlins team is a big reason why you're here as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Again, I learned a lot of great things over there. The biggest thing is, man, how to build that chemistry and how to bring a clubhouse together. So the things I was able to, take from those guys and implement them here already, we've got a great group, great chemistry, great camaraderie. It seems like the team is very much together, and, just kind of continue to every day to kind of harp on, we got to do it together. Because it's easy when you're a young guy to come in with that. I'm trying to get my mentality, but, you see this spring, man, we got a team who could really surprise some people, and you know, it make it tough on some teams in our division and around the league. So just that with that mentality of doing it together, I think it's definitely going to help us, you know, have a decent season.
Hey, playing a little bit of right field today. I know you've bounced between left and right, but either way, it seems like the guy next to you in center field, Lewis Brinson, has drawn some comparisons to you. What have you seen out of Lewis Brinson so far this spring?
It's funny. I've heard about Lewis for years, and coming up for years, that's what I got. It's just this young guy who reminds us a lot of you, but you know, he's bigger. He's taller than me. He's got those long legs that, you know, it's fun watching him, man. It's fun watching him run around out there, and you know, I've yet to have a corner guy when I play center field who can go get it like Lewis can. So it makes for a fun outfield, man. Me and him, we call it a no-drop zone. So that's the mentality.
Right.
That's the mentality that we're taking out there this year. Is if it's in the air for, you know, any short amount of time, we're gonna make plays. So it's gonna be exciting, not only offensively, but watching us run things down out there and take extra base hits from people is gonna be a lot of fun.
Did you have a moment this spring, Cameron, where you were like, wait a minute, I was the young guy. It was only a couple years ago, and now all of a sudden I'm the vet. I remember myself, you know, in my career. Next thing I know, I got Juan Pierre coming up with me, and they're like, yeah, you're the vet. Teach him a few things.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wait, how did that happen so fast?
It is. It's crazy, man. It just seems like just yesterday I was here, you know, in Jupiter as a younger guy, and now here I am at 30, still feeling pretty young, and I'm getting called a veteran in the clubhouse. So it's humbling. I think you know, like I know, it's nice to be called a vet. That means you've been around and you've been able to do some good things to stick around. So, you know, I'm embracing it, man. And these guys, they've embraced it as well. You know, they look to me and Starling and you know, the guys that have been here like Martin for advice. So it's cool that guys are looking to me for advice, and I'm able to give some good advice about things that I've learned and seen along the way.
As a veteran, that means that you've also had your fair share of opening days. Thursday is going to be special, but what's Wednesday night like? Trying to get to sleep, especially with an early first pitch at 12:40.
It's funny you talk about that. We're a few days away, and I've already thought about Wednesday. What am I going to eat? What am I going to do? What time am I going to go to bed? So, you know, you get the anxiety, you get the anxiousness of opening day approaching, and you can feel it, man. But I think you know, those are the good butterflies that you get in your belly, especially for guys who will be you know, having their first chance at opening day. It's an experience that, you know, you definitely cherish and you'll remember, especially the guys getting their first one. But that night before, it can be somewhat uneasy for sure.
This one out towards center field. Monte Harrison a run toward the gap. He's able to put that one away. Cameron, maybe we appreciate the time. We will talk to you and see you on Thursday.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Cameron.
All right. 2-1 Astros on top as we go to the bottom of the fifth in Jupiter. Sports Florida is brought to you by Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth back with you here in Jupiter as the Marlins get set to pack up the moving trucks and head south to Miami. A day off tomorrow, a game against the University of Miami at Marlins Park on Tuesday. A workout Wednesday, and then the first game of the 2018 season, not just for the Marlins, but for all of Major League Baseball. The only game in town for about a half hour or so. So All eyes on the Cubs and the Marlins Thursday afternoon as Dallas Keuchel is back out to work the 5th. We had thought that he'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 innings, depending, as this is his, of course, final tune-up for the 2018 campaign, as he delivers an 0-1 to Yadiel Rivera. That one fouled back 0-2. Rivera 0 for 1 this afternoon, a ground out to shortstop back in the 2nd inning. And we mentioned before, Keuchel, part of that three-headed monster with the Astros. Of course, he's been there for a couple of years. The trade deadline acquisition of Justin Verlander at the final seconds to bring in Verlander on August 31st last year. And then, of course, the trade to bring in Garrett Cole, and 3, I suppose, reasons as to why the Astros are once again favored in the American League West and all that league.
Yeah, well, I was just sitting here thinking about, you mentioned the three-headed monster, and I was actually thinking more like it's kind of like five-headed.
Yes.
I mean, Lance McCullers, my goodness gracious.
Forgot about him.
I mean, he's certainly got to be one of them, right? One of the better fastballs, and certainly one of the really good breaking balls in the game of baseball. In fact, uses that an awful lot. So.
Oh, 1-2 on the way to Rivera, and that one misses low. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
A lot of people picking this Astros team, and certainly understandably with that rotation, with the lineup that they run out there every day. My goodness, talented organization right now.
Swing and a miss, strike 3, the 5th strikeout of the afternoon for Dallas Keuchel, and now Monte Harrison gets a chance at Dallas Keuchel. The Harrison brothers, of course, Monte brought over this offseason, and one of the moves from the Milwaukee Brewers, the Christian Yelich deal, and of course his brother Shaquille signed a couple of 10-day contracts with the Phoenix Suns before ultimately signing more of a long-term deal. So athleticism running in the family. The Harrison family, a couple of guys. There's Monte right there, getting fired up for his brother. And in all likelihood, sitting next to Lewis Brinson as well. But yeah, Monte Harrison, you could see it just looking at him, that he's put together, and he is athletic from the top down, and a 3-sport athlete coming up. And when he makes it to the Marlins roster, the hope is that he will be an impact player early and often for this team.
Well, he certainly speaks to that athleticism that we've continued to harp on over the last couple of days. He certainly possesses it. You see the frame, 6'3", 220 pounds. I mean, he is rock solid. He looks like a football player in a baseball player's uniform right now.
Depending on what publication you look at for the prospect rankings, either one that you look at or any of the ones that you look at, Harrison is up there as he rips this one to left field. A high drive that will clear the wall in left field. Monte Harrison with a solo home run to tie things up here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
You love to see it. Oh boy, that athleticism came out in that swing right there. Once he set those hands and got him back, he was able to go down and elevate. Gracious, this was a laser. Watch the hands go down, back leg nearly touching the ground. Watch that back leg, almost all the way there, and that electric bat speed.
And now a base hit the other way for Chris Diaz into right field. So after the home run, a knock for Diaz, and the Marlins have something going here in the bottom of the 5th. Another look at the home run.
Now this is the one that they're going to remember. Here, Harrison's going to remember it. Here's why. You got Dallas Keuchel still on the mound. You can say spring training all you want. That's a big home run for that young man right there. Certainly love that moment.
Again, so much made of Lewis Brinson and being at the forefront of it and the top prospect in this organization. But Monte Harrison is not far behind just when it comes to the scouting reports. And again, whenever it may be that he's up with the big club, and certainly the Marlins hope with the big club for good, hopefully much more of that on the way. Again, not want to throw too many scouting terms around, but again, that similar profile to Brinson just in terms of the size and athleticism. And the type of player that President of Baseball Operations Michael Hill, his entire staff, and really this entire organization is trying to collect. Those middle of the diamond guys who can impact the game on a number of different levels. And Harrison has impacted the game with a solo home run here in the 5th. Former college football player, excellent bat speed, budding power, which you saw a moment ago down the left field line, but foul for Eric Jagielo getting his first at bat.
Those are all significant moments in the development of a young player. He will think back to this game, to this moment, to that hit right there, that home run against Dallas Keuchel. It will continue to fuel the fire. There's no doubt about it. Those are the moments that you look for. You first get to your big league camp and you start to produce and you start to get that spring training opportunity.
Jagielo into the shift. Most of that. It's out number 3. But a Harrison home run has evened things up through 5 here in Jupiter. 2-2 Astros and Marlins. Matchups against the Cubs, Red Sox, Mets, Dodgers, and Yankees. Single game tickets are now available. Go to marlins.com/tickets. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth here in Jupiter as Justin Turner takes over. Third pitcher of the afternoon for the Marlins. Odrisamer Despaigne went the first 4, a couple of hits, a couple of runs, a walk and 4 strikeouts, and Junichi Tazawa working a clean 5th. So now it's Turner, his career numbers in front of you. And again, one of those guys who, depending on how things shake out in these last, I guess now we're down to hours, right? We're in like the 48, 72-hour window of spring training here, figuring out where he fits in the plans of this pitching staff.
Well, he certainly had an impressive spring so far. Live arm, 4 pitches, fastball, slider, curveball, change. Does it pretty well. It's very interesting to me how quickly you know, we talked to Cameron Maben a little bit about this, how quickly that prospect status just gets dropped. I mean, you've got that small window of opportunity. You're called a prospect, and you can lean on it for a little bit, but boy, oh boy, it goes away quick. I mean, it was only a few seasons ago we were talking Jacob Turner is one of the top prospects in all of the game of baseball. Here he is, hoping to capitalize on an opportunity in this Marlins rotation, this Marlins team.
An 0-2 to Alex Bregman, who started the day as the third baseman. He has since moved over to shortstop, but dumps a base hit into left field to lead things off here in the 6th inning. Of course, so much was made of the offseason that the Marlins had, and oh man, the sky is falling. This team is going to be terrible and all that stuff. And a lot of teams will, the fans will say that, listen, spring doesn't mean anything. But if you ask Don Mattingly, and we did before the game today, Boston's supposed to be good this year. Houston's supposed to be good this year. St. Louis, the Yankees, and the Marlins are right there. Now, again, this is not to say that we're counting down the magic number to a postseason berth by any stretch, but there are certainly some organizations, and the Marlins put themselves in that group right now, where in spring that competition begins to feed itself, and guys want to go out there and win, and preparation is a big term that Don Mattingly used on multiple occasions today, just in terms of going out there, and it is important to win. Now, again, how that translates to when we're in those 3-deck stadiums and the road trips and all that stuff, it's all different. But the bottom line is, if this team was 1-20 in the spring, well, now maybe there's cause for concern, but right now there's certainly a good feeling.
You don't walk through the clubhouse here. You don't walk through the offices here, talking about the front office here. You ask anybody, there's an expectation from Derek Jeter on down. You win every inning, you win every day. And whether you're buying into it or not, it's the attitude that you possess going into each and every day. Now, granted, is it going to translate into a championship this year? Listen, they're not one of the favorites in Vegas. We certainly get that. But again, this story is one that's going to be told over a much longer period of time, and you move in that direction. But it's the attitude that you want to see, and Don Mattingly wants to see his players taking out there on the field every day. They're not going to back down from Dallas Keuchel. They're not going to back down from the Max Scherzers. Sure, listen, they're in a different position, but they're going to possess that type of mentality each and every day. Now, the challenge will be, as you get into the season, you see these guys every day, and it never backs up. That's the thing about Major League Baseball. 162 games you're going to play. I mean, this schedule is not an easy one, especially early for the Marlins, but they're going to have to go out there, they're going to have to play, and they're going to have to stay at it. As we know, there's going to be some great wins in there, and there's going to be some tough losses as well, but it's going to be how you bounce back after some of those tough losses that keep you from falling into those losing slumps.
Mentioned the schedule, and we'll have just about all of them for you. 158 regular season games on Fox Sports Florida. The other 4 will also be available to you. 3 of them on FS1 and 1 nationally on Fox. Marlins Live pre- and post-game show. Craig Minervini, Jeff Nelson, Jessica Willock, Gabby Sanchez. So I'm not the only new face around here. And Kelly Sacco as well. And, of course, the Spanish language is available for all the home games as well. So you will have no issues finding the Marlins throughout the 2018 season. As Jose Altuve bats with 2 on and nobody out here in the top of the 6th inning.
Hop on board and enjoy the process. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch a lot of this young talent. These guys play and take advantage of this opportunity.
And again, listen, you can go off last year for starters, and then you could check in with the odds makers and who's going to be good and who's on paper not supposed to be. As Altuve flies one out toward right field. Plenty of room out there in right for Miller, and advancing to third is Bregman. But Mayfield rather is the pinch runner who moves from second to third. But it's formidable, no doubt about it. Out of the gates, just in April alone, of course, the Cubs to start, the Red Sox. Those are the 2 home series. Then there's a trip to Philadelphia where that Jake Arrieta fellow might run into him.
Resides.
Right, might run into him. And then there's a lengthy road trip that goes through New York, through Milwaukee, and through L.A. So the Marlins will be battle tested. There's no doubt about it in April. Two on, 1 away as Jacob Turner delivers right back through the box. A base hit for Alex Degotti. And an RBI to bring home Mayfield. It's now 3-2 Astros.
Degotti jumping all over that fastball. Set up by Altuve. I thought that was an impressive at bat by Altuve. You say, hey, this is spring training. He went the other way with a deep fly ball to put a runner on third base. See Turner get out of the way of that line drive safely. Mayfield come in to score the go-ahead run. Here in the 6th.
Now another look at Marwin Gonzalez. Carrying over what was a breakout 2017 campaign into the 2018 spring, hitting .327 as he takes a look at ball 1. A couple of home runs and 6 RBIs. So while not much, at least on the outside, expected from the Marlins, a much different scenario for the Houston Astros. They go into this year with a target on their back. And teams are going to want to go into Houston, and when they welcome the Astros to town, they are going to want to beat the best. And, you know, the old, was it the old Ric Flair line? To be the best, you got to beat the best. And the Astros are certainly geared up for what could be another October run in 2018. And now, as we talked about earlier in the Chicago Cubs, a bit of a World Series hangover. Didn't really hit their stride until the All-Star break when they acquired Jose Quintana, and then they got out of the second half gates pretty hot. The Astros hope to avoid a similar fate, although they did run away from the competition in the American League West last year. They are certainly loaded for bear in 2018. And while even the older veterans on this team, the McCanns, the Reddicks, you know, winning their first World Series as well. Talk a lot about the youth on this Astros team. Correa, Altuve, Bregman. You get through October, you grow up pretty quick. You're not young anymore. You're young by age, but you've been through the rigors. You know what it's all about.
I think Bregman's a pretty good example of that, right? Bregman's been around for about an hour here in his major league career, and
right.
I mean, it's been an impressive hour, if you will. But I guess the point is, like, I think many of us feel like he's been around for like 4 seasons.
Seems like it, yeah.
He is a budding star. Base hit to start this inning.
Now Brian McCann. McCann will be tasked with getting to know some pitchers for this team. We mentioned the acquisition of Garrett Cole, but it's not all roses, I suppose, for the Astros looking at 2018. Gone are their innings pitched leaders Mike Fiers, Joe Musgrove, who pitched to a 1.44 ERA in relief last year, Luke Gregerson, who pitched in 65 games. But again, if there are teams, no team is perfect. No team is without flaw, without some question. But A.J. Hinch certainly sitting pretty, so much so that a couple of days ago basically announced his opening day roster. So they're pretty set and ready to roll.
Lots of depth. Lots of answers already. You got the rotation, the bullpen.
So as we talk about the Astros making their opening day roster known a couple of days ago, some news with the Marlins. A big congratulations to both Lewis Brinson and Garrett Cooper, who moments ago were just told, you guys are heading south with us. So Lewis Brinson, Garrett Cooper, part of that opening day roster for the Marlins.
Great to see, well deserved, and I think many of us felt like that was coming. It was certainly hinted at. Both had outstanding springs, and
McCann to deep right field. Back is Miller, back against the wall, and that one clears the fence. It's a 3-run home run for Brian McCann. Just his second hit of the spring, but a big one to open things up here in Jupiter.
Well, for Brian McCann, that makes the slow offensive spring all go away, right? You get down here to the end, a big couple of good swings. Next thing you know, you feel good and you're right on time. That ball down in the happy zone to most left-handed hitters. You see it low and in. Cuts it off, beats it to the spot. Gets it over the wall. This game has opened up a little bit in favor of the Astros. here in the 6th inning.
Now, of course, Rookie of the Year in 1996. I forget, did you make the opening day roster?
I did.
So when you get to sit down, or manager or GM, whoever it was, comes up and tells you, listen, kid, you made the opening day roster. What does that feel like?
I'll tell you, it's an emotional time for most players. I think Lewis Brinson, I think we kind of sensed it even when we got to talk to him today. We got to talk to Cooper a couple days ago, and I think you could kind of get at where he was at. He had just homered in the ball game, if you remember correctly, and I think we talked to him just after that as well, and I think he was pretty excited with how his spring had gone and maybe the opportunity that was in front of you. But it's everything that you've worked for. It's every ounce of sweat, every fly ball that you took at 6 a.m. in instructional league. All of the places that you went in your journey all coming to a head, and you're like, you know what? It paid off. I'm going to put a big league uniform on. I'm going to be part of what my dream has always been and is now going to be realized.
Fedorovich out toward left field. That's Dean for out number 3, but 4 runs across, 3 of which on the home run from Brian McCann. 6-2. Best benefits in baseball, from concession discounts to one-of-a-kind VIP experiences. Season ticket memberships have something for everyone. Check out the variety of flexible game plans at marlins.com/season tickets. And an early chance to see plenty of the Marlins coming up. The first 6 games at home to begin the season. Chicago Cubs starting on Thursday. Then the Boston Red Sox come to town before the first road trip of the year. First relief pitcher of the day for the Houston Astros as Brad Peacock comes in. 7 seasons. This will be his 7th season in the big leagues, and he delivers upstairs to Brian Miller.
Well, for Peacock, boy, he turned a corner last year. Impressive stuff. Two-seam fastball and a wipeout slider. Started piling up strikeouts last year, 161 of them in 132 innings pitched. 3 ERA to go along with a 13-2 record. So he was kind of that go-between. Making 21 starts last year. He's going to start out this season in the bullpen. Of course, he'll slide into that rotation if need be.
Like you were waiting for the, you were trying to make the ball get deep by starting late. You got to stay this ground all the time.
So the line obviously done on Dallas Keuchel. 5 innings, 6 hits, couple of runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. And again, as advertised, plenty of soft contact throughout the day. He's, as I said before, he's fun to watch. Not a lot of fun to face, I'm sure, but as a baseball fan, fun to watch. When he's on, he is one of the best in the game.
Right. Most hitters will tell you they don't want to be embarrassed by the 97. They don't want it blown by. Keuchel
try to do everything that's
You're going to make your outs. He's going to frustrate you. You know, you tap back to the mound and you have to run it out to first base. You're quite frustrated. That's what Dallas Keuchel does. And a called strike 3 for Brian Miller. One away in the 6th. Picks up his first strikeout. It's a borderline pitch. You see it right there, just at or below the knees. Probably could have gone either way. And now we get a look at Brian Holliday. Took over for Tomas Tellez earlier in the game. Tellez was 0 for 2 in his time at the plate. Holliday takes a called strike.
Big curveball too, right?
For most today, are you healthy is the only question that will be asked when this game is over. Everybody just trying to get to opening day and keeping their rosters intact and ready to go. See that pop up to second. And now Eric Campbell. And speaking of health, more on the long-term front. Earlier today, Wei-Yin Chen threw on one of the backfields some live batting practice. No timetable yet on his return, as he continues to work his way back. He said his arm felt good, but again, it's not the now, it's the how does he feel once a day goes by, a couple of days go by. He took live batting practice, in fact, against Martin Prado as well, who is going to start the season on the disabled list, and that is what opened up the spot for Brian Anderson, who should get the nod on Thursday at third base. Up the middle, backhand play, long throw. Campbell is retired. A slick play by the Astros defense to end things here in the 6th. 3 up and 3 down. Houston leads this one 6-2. Have asked for a nicer day, about 80 degrees at first pitch, and again, fortunately for us and for Marlins fans, not a long trip down to Miami, but I feel for some of those teams who have to go you know, all the way from a warm weather Florida or Arizona back to, you know, some cold weather Milwaukee or Chicago, or, you know, beautiful cities, right, but this time of year still a little chilly.
Well, still a lot of snow on the ground in the Northeast.
Yeah. Well, just last week, the Nationals are supposed to play an exhibition game against the Twins, I believe, at Nationals Park. And as recently as, I want to say Thursday, there was snow all over Nationals Park.
It's been an eventful winter. Midwest, Northeast.
J.D. Davis to lead things off against Jacob Turner in his second inning of work. In on the hands, he got a piece of it somehow, and it's 1-1. And there's no easy way to figure it out. If there was, I'm sure it'd be done by now. But at least from our perspective, it's nice to utilize a warm weather city for that first week and a half.
I'm just not sure there's enough of them to accommodate everybody around baseball. But you're right. It's a question that always gets asked. You know, if you're in Chicago, if you're in New York, why aren't we in the deep south with the start of this season?
Nationals, I believe, talking about the Nationals, they go to Cincinnati to open things up. And Cincinnati, another scenario where they had snow all over the place at Great American Ballpark. Then again, I think we go to Colorado in June. There'll probably be snowing in June in Colorado, right?
So no, I don't know about June. Maybe up in the mountains, but I certainly hope that's not the
Stranger
case.
things have happened. If they had 81 home dates last year, they might have had about 71 rain delay, snow delay, something or other. Two to Davis is laced into left field for a base hit. Well, tomorrow on Fox Sports Florida, the Panthers continue their playoff hunt as they go head-to-head with the New York Islanders. Don't miss any of the action. Coverage begins 6:30 p.m. on Fox Sports Florida and streaming on Fox Sports Go.
Win last night for the Panthers as they roared back in the third period.
Pun intended?
Intended.
Nice.
Not deliberate, but now, yes.
Take the credit any way you
Sure.
can get it. Trust me. Swing and a miss by J.J. Matevich.
Good fastball by Turner. Continues to get after it, trying to kind of get in that rhythm. Had a rough sixth inning. Back out here for the seventh.
So for Turner, again, exactly how he slots into the Marlins plans for their rotation, bullpen, whatever it's going to be. Obviously, just the questions in general. A few more of those just with Dan Straley, who had hoped to be the #2 starter for this team after the announcement that Jose Urena would get the ball on opening day. But the update on Straley, expected to start the season on the DL. A no-throw period since Monday. The MRI showed a right forearm inflammation. He said he feels fine. Don Mattingly said he feels fine. It's just the doctors wanting to play it safe. The last thing you want is these lingering injuries. You come back a couple of days too soon or start throwing a couple of days too soon, and now you're kind of back at the starting gates again, and that's not what the Marlins are thinking about. But it will be Jose Urena going on opening day. One of the reasons why he was the man chosen to start Thursday against the Cubs was in a these are not my words, by the way, but in a crazy situation. He's crazy enough to handle it.
He does not back down from a challenge. And
Ground ball to second. One. Double play.
that's what you like to see. Nicely turned. Ball in the hole right there. Damas does a nice job, glove hand side. And watch the little half turn right there and quick flip. Keeps that thing moving. Nice exchange and good throw across the diamond. A couple of outs here in the seventh. Talking about Urena, boy, I mean, I just really am amazed at the last 365 days of his life. That one gets inside. I think it hit Mayfield. He's standing in there like he's going to take the at-bat. Awfully close. But Urena, I mean, this time last year we were talking, is he going to be a Marlin or is he going to, potentially be lost because he was out of options and, they weren't sure where they were going to stash him necessarily, whether it would be the bullpen. There was very little conversation about the rotation. They loved his arm and certainly understood his work ethic. He possessed all of the traits for a keeper, but he had run out of options and hadn't gotten it done at the major league level enough to where you were 100% certain he was going to be on the major league team. Makes the roster out of spring training, worked out of the bullpen for a little bit.
Mayfield lines one to left. It holds up for out number 3. Seventh inning stretch time here in Jupiter. A 6-2 deficit for the Marlins. Marlins opening game blood drives coming up next week. Through One Blood, a not-for-profit community asset, all donors will receive a Miami Marlins voucher for a future game. The Big Red Bus will be parked at the West Plaza Thursday, the 29th, from 9:30 to 1:30. Friday, 4 to 8. Saturday, 4 to 8, and Sunday, 9:30 to 1:30. One quick out as Christian Adames is retired here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth with you as Chris Davinsky takes over for the Astros in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Another big part of their bullpen. You see his ERA there. A very nice job. Big part of that championship team. Let's be looking to get his work in. Well, we do know that opening day right around the corner, March 29th. The Marlins and the Cubs. First pitch is going to be at 12:40. Yesterday was a March for Our Lives day around the nation, as we know in Parkland. Obviously, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, the 17 lives that were lost. The Marlins are really doing some great things in the upcoming couple of weeks to obviously support what is going on in a lot of these, even some of these demonstrations. Let me get into it here. Marlins Cubs, they're going to wear a patch on the uniform, which I think is really, really cool. MSD, they're going to wear that. That's going to be opening day. Marlins as well are going to have some a sign on the left field wall during the 4-game series acknowledging MSD as well. Remember, hashtag MSD strong. Derek Jeter reached out to Stoneman Douglas High School and in fact invited the baseball team to come play a game. So on April 4th, there's going to be a baseball game between Stoneman Douglas High School and Coral Springs High. It's at 6:30. It's going to be at Marlins Park. I think that's really cool. But Derek reached out personally, and obviously both high schools very, very excited about this. Get to play at Marlins Park.
As Austin Dean with a hard hit ball toward left field. A one-hopper off the wall. A 2-base hit with one out here in the 7th.
You remember earlier this spring, Marlins invited Stoneman Douglas baseball team out. People support. It could be a little bit, certainly a part of this day right here. All the hats, obviously many of the t-shirts. Anthony Rizzo, member of the Cubs, went to Stoneman Douglas High School. We're going to have a few things with him over this 4-game set with the Chicago Cubs in conjunction with the Marlins as well. Certainly a part of that, but everybody working together for the same thing. April 15th is actually going to be Stoneman Douglas Day at Marlins Park. So that's a Pirates Marlins game. There's going to be complimentary tickets available for anyone with a Stoneman Douglas ID. Includes the students and the staff. So a lot of cool stuff going on at Marlins Park. Certainly acknowledging and remembering. I mentioned that MSD patch. It's going to feature 17 stars of the lives that were lost. That horrible day, that February 14th.
Yeah, of course, there's no way to forget what happened. So many affected through that, but just after it did occur, and Derek Jeter invited the baseball team to come here and talked with them. He said, you know, it's a different scenario, sure, but kind of the same responsibility that we had as the Yankees back in 2001. You just try to offer some sort of a release, some sort of a getaway, even if it's just for 3 hours a day, to think about something else, something positive. But of course, that community has come together under the worst possible circumstances, no doubt, but it has been great to see just how everyone is leaning on everyone else in this very tough time. And of course, it's not just the Marlins, it's many others around. This a tweet from Pearl Jam earlier this week. Eddie Vedder, part of a meet and greet experience for 4. It's going to be at Wrigley Field, the Wrigley Field show in August. That auction ends today, 8:30 tonight, in fact. So you still have a little bit of time. It's at $46,750.
How about it? Wow.
Wow. So 5.5 hours left to get in on that. Obviously, good things being done all around to support those in the area, and the Marlins certainly doing their part, and we appreciate that.
10,000 plus yesterday in Parkland. March for Our Lives. We see a lot of those marches around the nation. Washington, D.C.
2 balls and 2 strikes here to Monte Harrison, who homered back in the 5th inning, his first at bat after taking over for Lewis Brinson. Brinson got himself a couple of at bats, and then his day really perked up as he was told he's making the opening day roster along with Garrett Cooper, as Harrison is retired for out number 2.
Good breaking ball right there by Davinsky. Well, what we have to do, right? So after the game is over, you and I are going to go talk to Lewis, and we're going to congratulate him. We're also going to remind him that, you know, you made the team because you came on air with us.
Right,
in you know, I think it was with the 4th inning or whatever we had him early in the ball game, and, you know, tell him that that's the reason, so that every time he comes on, good things happen.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with the fact that he hit .328 this spring. Has nothing to do with that.
Stellar defense.
Stellar defense. None of that matters. It was just the pull that you and I have up in the booth.
The day. Right? Good things happen when you come on.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of a mojo thing.
That's right. Chris Diaz base hit today's ball game. Nice approach. Earlier at bat. Opportunity to drive in a run here in the 7th.
Hey, go to work.
Dean, the runner on second after his 1-out double earlier in this inning. Dean took over for Yadiel Rivera in left, and Rivera got the start today. Derek Dietrich getting a little extra time on Friday night, was hit by a pitch, and as it turns out, got hit by a pitch twice, really. He walked away from that hit by pitch with red marks on both of his arms as that one squirts away. Brian McCann throws to first, but not in time. So unable to complete the strikeout. Runners on the corners with 2 outs here in the 7th. But for Dietrich, again, just getting an extra day. No need to rush him back. He should be good to go for Thursday.
Well, you see that gets through the wickets. Brian McCann didn't give much of a hole there. He went down to both knees, maybe a little bit late. That glove a little elevated, though. That's the one thing. That glove wasn't all the way down on the ground, and it's able to get through, and Marlins able to extend this inning.
For Rodrigo Vigil, who flew out to center field back in the 5th. Chance for the Marlins to maybe get one back here in the 7th, down 6-2. How about that delivery from Davinsky? He's kind of that, you know, you talk about Jake Arrieta so much today, right? That closed sort of delivery, throwing across his body. This one, he really opens up when he delivers.
He flies open, right? It's almost the opposite, but again, that's where a lot of the movement that he possesses comes from. You see early kind of comes set. He's certainly even right there, but watch that front side. It falls way off to the first base side of the mound. Gives you a pretty decent glimpse of the ball early, but you still have to pick it up and you still have to be disciplined enough to stay inside the strike zone. To your point, on the flip side of that, Jake Arrieta is the opposite. That door is constantly closed, and in fact, much of his stuff is hidden by his front side.
Runner goes, but Vigil strikes out to end things. We are through 7 here in Jupiter. 6-2 Houston. Going for the Marlins with an RBI double in the first inning. But in the fourth, it was Carlos Correa with one of those high, majestic home runs to left field, just enough to clear the wall. And then Marwin Gonzalez going back-to-back in the fourth. Then in the fifth, Monte Harrison, his first AB of the day. Getting into this one, a no-doubter to left field. Home run for one of the top prospects in the Marlins system. Alex Tagati with a base hit up the middle in that 4-run 6th inning. And 3 runs coming in here on this home run from Brian McCann. About 352 over that right field wall. Just his second hit of the spring, but again, that 4-run 6th, the difference in this one as we go to the top of the 8th inning in the final Grapefruit League game for the Marlins. Again, one more tune-up against the University of Miami on Tuesday as Drew Steckenrider takes over. A hard-throwing righty out of that Marlins bullpen.
So impressive last year. Pretty good look right there. Throwing that changeup.
Not so hard throwing on it.
Hey, well, listen, what do we know about Drew? Is Drew will bring it. He's definitely got it in the tank. 95, 97 mile an hour on the fastball. He's got a good breaking ball, and he's been working on it this spring along with that changeup. And that's the one thing that's been so impressive with Drew. See a good fastball right there is that he continues to impress as far as like the learning curve, and he wants to get better, and he keeps adding to the arsenal and improving his pitches. He's not settled in. After what he did last year, you'd say, okay, I want to come back out this year and do exactly what I did last year and take it from there. And I mean, he can rest on that good fastball command that he possesses and probably get through most days just using that fastball and the occasional breaking ball, but he continues to use the other pitches to develop and use. As you saw right there, he opened up this at bat with a changeup.
Kyle Tucker gets a piece of that one, a ball and 2 strikes.
Go tell a young hitter, he says, yeah, this guy throws really, really hard. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna time up this fastball in the on-deck circle. And you get in the on-deck circle and you're timing him up and you see him getting loose, and you get in there and he throws you in an 86 mile an hour changeup, and you're like, what just happened to my elbow?
A 1-2 now from Steckenrider, and a ground ball base hit into right center field. So a leadoff knock for Tucker.
Well, for Steckenrider, that changeup up. That's the mistake right there, is the pitch location, not the pitch selection. He gets that ball down. He gets more than likely a ground ball to the second baseman.
Josh Rojas takes over. 56 games last season at A-ball with the Astros in Quad Cities. And Steckenrider delivers a called strike. So many strikeouts last season for Drew Steckenrider, just in terms of the ratio. 54 strikeouts in 34 and 2/3 innings pitched. That's 14 per 9. So among pitchers with 30 innings pitched, he was 6th best in all of baseball. Made his major league debut last May. An 8th round pick out of the University of Tennessee in 2012 for the Marlins. And while it seems to be that Ziegler will get the 9th inning between Kyle Bearclaw and Drew Steckenrider, 2 members of the all-name team, by the way, they will be a big part of this bullpen in high leverage situations in the 8th inning and the 7th inning, perhaps even in the 6th inning for Don Mattingly. Two to Rojas, a swing and a miss. First strikeout of the afternoon for Steckenrider. A lot of toys to play with for Juan Nieves out of that bullpen. Earlier we talked about Jose Altuve signing a long-term extension with this Houston Astros team, coming in the neighborhood of $163 million. Come get yourself some. And just learning now out of the Phillies camp that Scott Kingery, a kid who they certainly have a lot of hope and promise for, so much so as Steckenrider fields his own position to get the lead runner at second for out number 1, but they can't complete the double play. Another look here at this before I give you the little bit on Kingery.
A nice job by Steckenrider, bouncing off the mound. A little short hop on that backhand, but always key a strike to the base he's throwing. That's always the challenge for pitchers, to square the shoulders and make a good, strong throw to the base where they're trying to get the out. Sometimes they get a little lazy and they just kind of get the arm moving in the right direction. But Steckenrider did a nice job there to get the sure out at second base.
So again, Kingery, one of the top prospects in the Phillies organization, a Phillies team that we'll see on our first road trip, in fact, after the Cubs and Red Sox homestand. Kingery, 6-year contract extension through the 2023 season. Club options for 2024, 25, 26, and according to multiple reports, $24 million guaranteed.
Pretty amazing. He has got exactly 0 big league days. I mean, that is amazing stuff right there. I mean, listen, he's the Phillies' number 2 prospect. Certainly understand that. Number 35 overall in Major League Baseball. He's going to make the opening day roster. But it is an unprecedented deal. But playing off of what we've seen, and we know how Major League Baseball trends. Boy, we see it all the time, right? Year in and year out, the trend starts. It's like right now we got the curveball thing going, right? Yep. It started last year and everybody's kind of piggybacking off of that. Guys are starting to throw that curveball an awful lot more. We see this. Contracts do very much the same thing. What have we learned over the last few seasons? Man, these younger players can play, Paul. I'm telling you, these kids are coming up and they're getting it done on the whole for the most part.
Right back up the middle. And that got a piece of Steckenrider, but he pumps his fist as they get the out at second base. So a smile on his face, and a number of smiles in the Marlins dugout as well. Thankfully, got leather. Reno, Todd Hollingsworth, and thankfully Drew Steckenrider here at regular speed got his glove up to deflect that one. Led to the third out of the inning, and then afterwards he says no, it got the glove, and then Juan Nieves has a new best friend. Thank you so much. But again, getting back to the overarching theme of today, it's again the last Grapefruit League game for the Marlins. Just get through today healthy.
Yeah, we've seen it over the last 24 hours or so in baseball. A few guys have gone down. The Marlins certainly knew coming into today they had potentially a couple guys going to the disabled list. You don't want to see that, but I mean, again, when you know it's coming, you just don't want to get blindsided by something this late in the game. And what I mean by that is not just literally this late in the game, but this late in spring training is what I'm more or less getting at. So good to see right there. I'm sure Drew would probably tell you that he should have caught it.
Yeah, I think so.
He was happy to get the out.
Colin McHugh takes over, the fourth pitcher of the afternoon for the Houston Astros. As Jagielo fouls that one back to the screen. Dallas Keuchel started 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, and 5 strikeouts. Brad Peacock worked a clean 6th. Chris Davinsky had 3 strikeouts, but had to get 4 outs after the strikeout and wild pitch, but still worked through that 7th inning. And now McHugh works the 8th. Hot shot down the right field line. Do we make the catch or no? Let's see.
Let's take a look. I think he did. I missed it.
Well, he won't be getting a Scott Kingery contract extension.
Absolutely not, although it is still spring training. We're basing it off of.
Hello, baby.
Kingery, a second baseman.
Yeah, that's tough to turn down. If you're a youngster with, what'd you say, 0 days?
0 days
leagues?
in the big leagues.
Yep.
And you have the promise of all that guaranteed money, but he's forfeiting an awful lot of time.
Jagielo fights that one off, and it just lands foul. It's against the shift, too. So if that one got down and took a left turn toward the bullpen, probably could have been 2, but instead it's still a 1-2 count on Jagielo.
Scott Kingery, a graduate, or I should say, attended Arizona University. I mean, he's a college player, so I mean, he's a little bit more polished. He's 23 years old. They certainly know what they've got in him, but again, a surprising contract for such a young player.
Phillies are a team right now that, again, we'll see them 3rd series of the season. Jagielo dying quail into center field, but it holds up for out number 1. Elsewhere in the Grapefruit League, Mookie Betts is ready for the season to begin for the Boston Red Sox. Had himself a couple of home runs this afternoon as the Red Sox leading the Twins in Fort Myers. That one is 6-1 in the top of the 8th inning. Again, the Marlins also in action elsewhere in Port St. Lucie at a split squad today. They lost 4-3 this afternoon to the New York Mets.
You look at Mookie Betts. Is he one of the bright young stars? Is he a top 5 player in the American League for you? I think that's maybe a tougher question to ask. I was watching the game yesterday, and they were talking about Mookie's game, like where he is in, is he at the Trout level? Is he, a little bit below it? And I think most people would agree. I mean, certainly an all-star type player, but I think he's one of the game's elites, if you ask me personally.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, he was in the mix for an MVP, a couple of years ago, right? That was finished 2nd in the MVP in 2016, finished 6th in the MVP last year. Has already won a couple of Gold Gloves, a 2-time All-Star.
He's a special player. I think it's interesting, obviously the 2 home runs today, but during the broadcast, yesterday, and I think this probably applies to the Marlins in some regards, just talking about the age of players and how much younger this game has gotten. And they were talking during the broadcast, if Mookie Betts, and Mookie hit a good breaking ball from Colin McHugh right there over the top, 12-6 down in the zone, except his first strikeout. Take one more look at it. It's a tough pitch to lay off because you see it an awful long time, but you see where it finishes. One of McHugh's best pitches, uses it quite a bit. Talk about that breaking ball, but getting back to Mookie Betts, he wants to be more of a clubhouse leader this year, and is going to deliberately kind of try to be that guy. I think it's very interesting, as young as he is. I believe he's about 23 years of age, maybe 24 this year, you know, to be in that position for that type of franchise. But he is that kind of player. What I guess is interesting in my mind, I see it in Lewis Brinson as well. I mean, he doesn't have the resume, doesn't necessarily have the track record that Mookie's got at the major league level. But watching him this spring, watching how he carries himself, even how he carries himself in an interview, away from the camera, in the clubhouse, this is a young man who knows how to lead.
Brian Holiday with a fly ball toward left center field, and Lagares able to put that one away for out number 3. We head to the 9th. 6-2 Houston. Is coming Thursday at Marlins Park to kickstart the 2018 season. Garage is open at 9. You can prepay for your parking at marlins.com/parking. The gates open at 10:30. Pre-game festivities begin at 11. A live on-field performance with DJ Khaled will be performing Just Getting Started, which is the new Marlins anthem for the 2018 season and beyond, as this team is certainly getting started in a new direction. And a guy who was here last year and certainly will be here again this year, and thankfully none the worse for the wear after a comebacker a few moments ago, Drew Steckenrider. Drew, thanks for taking the time. How you doing? You all right? Your heart rate down a little bit now?
Yeah, I got calmed down on the bench. Juan calmed me down a little bit, but got all gloves. So
that's good.
Thankful I was able to get out of the way of that one.
Well, get out of the way or catch it. See, part of me was thinking you walked off the mound and you were telling yourself I should have caught that ball.
I should have. It was knuckling back at me. I saw it the whole way, which is the scary part because I know it was hit hard.
Right.
It just knuckled right out of the way of my glove, but thankfully rolled right up to second base to get the force out there.
Of course, starting pitchers, they need, you know, the 2 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. They want to get up to 80 pitches. They're working 4 or 5 hours a day, it seems like. For a reliever, what's your spring like? Because you'll throw, what, 8, 10 innings, whatever it's going to be. It doesn't seem like a lot, and I know that there's much more to it.
Right. I think it's just having to do your back-to-backs, you know, pitching back-to-back days, and then getting down and going 1+ innings or 2 innings or so. So you're building up your pitches in a different way than the starters are. Just getting used to that everyday grind, that everyday routine, and getting back into the swing of things.
I think, Drew, from my perspective, what's been so impressive watching you coming on last year, you came up to the big leagues, you established yourself rather quickly. Obviously, you've got so many intangibles that make you great at what you do. What's impressed me so far this spring is that you continue to appear to stay hungry and wanting to get better, where, you know, a lot of guys could say, listen, my fastball command, I throw hard, I can get away with that for a few seasons before maybe I need to start changing my game plan. But I see you working on the changeup. I see the slider out of your hand. I mean, you're constantly trying to, work it and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to do that day in and day out. If I can put another pitch in my back pocket and use that, even if it's a couple times a season, if it gets an out, if it gets a guy out, gets someone out in front, gets a ground ball double play, that could be huge. That could win us a ball game.
You know, as a guy who was a Marlins draft pick back in 2012, you know, I'm assuming you take a certain level of pride in this, you know, being your team. You would anyway, but this is a team that drafted you, that developed you, and is now headed in a new direction. You certainly are a big part of that coming out of the bullpen. So where's your level of pride right now and where the Marlins are heading toward 2018 and beyond?
I'm extremely excited to get the season started. We had a great camp, a lot of competition, a lot of guys fighting for spots and for jobs. So I think that helped drive some of the other guys too. Everybody included in that. So just that level of competition has made everybody work a little bit extra just to make sure that everybody's ready to go on opening day.
Drew, you're in your first full season in the big leagues, but I think in a lot of ways we look at you and feel like you've been around for about 3 or 4 years. Do you get that sense that some of these guys, and again, you're talking about the young guys, you're not that much farther removed from a lot of these guys who are, fighting for jobs and hoping to win a big league spot. Yet when we look at you, because the transition that this organization has gone through, you look at, we look at you, and at least I know I do, and think, man, he's been around for like 4 or 5 years. Do you kind of have that sense? You still feel like one of the young guys?
No, it's there's a good mix in there. Yeah. I mesh with everybody pretty well. Like you guys said, I've been in the organization since 2012, so I've gone up through the ranks, and of course, played with some guys. Being here in Jupiter, guys that were coming through doing rehab. Martin, I remember him coming through here doing rehab, getting a chance to play with him. So to familiarize yourself with guys when you're down in Jupiter playing, it helps out the higher you get to go.
We were up on stage together during Fan Fest in mid-February, and looking around, knowing we're still a month and a half away from opening day. Well, now opening day is next week. I asked Cameron Maben, he's been through a few of these opening days before. This will be your first with the big league squad. How do you think Wednesday is going to go? Trying to get to sleep at a reasonable hour, gearing up for an early start on Thursday.
I think I'll be all right. I know I'll be excited and anxious to get to the ballpark on Thursday. My family's coming in town. My wife will be down there Wednesday night as well too. So looking forward to having those guys in town for my first opening day, and can't wait to get there on Thursday.
Infield single there with 2 outs here in the top of the 9th inning, as Drew Steckenrider taking a little bit of time after his inning of work today. Drew, we are pleased to talk with you for sure, and I'm sure we'll talk plenty throughout the season. Go head south, will you? We'll see you next week.
Will do. Absolutely, guys.
Thanks,
Take
Drew.
care. We'll see you.
All right, bud.
So that was, in fact, ruled a hit, an infield single with 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Drew, a cool customer, and you need to be, because he's going to be pitching in some high leverage situations for this Marlins team this year.
Well, and that was a great question, Paul, that you asked him, in regards to, what Wednesday night might be like. The reason I love it is, if you've watched Drew and you watched him last year, Steckenrider, he is as cool as they come. Like, he was obviously in a few pressure situations last year. This is the young man, his first full big season. We pitched some really meaningful innings last year, but he never would let you see him sweat, and I think that's one of the things that you just fell in love with watching him.
A line drive base hit by Matevich into right field, and all the way to third goes Fedorovich, and now runners around the corners with 2 outs in the 9th inning.
Pretty good swing right here. That breaking ball stays up just enough. It was working its way down into the zone. Good swing, able to get it through the right side. Staying aggressive on those bases. Yeah, 6-2 lead. The Astros still looking for a little bit more here in the 9th.
I made my job so much harder than I needed to. I said that Fedorovich was on third and Matevich was on first. It's J.D. Davis over there at third base. Davis is easy. Those other two are just tongue twisters. What am I doing? It's not veteran right there.
J.D. Davis, he got that happy pat on the back a couple days ago. I think actually made it a couple days ago. I think it was actually yesterday. Now I think about it, he made the opening day roster for the Houston Astros. Good news for him. He was in a position battle with a few guys.
It's one thing to make an opening day roster. It's another thing to make an opening day roster while they're raising banners, which they will.
That's a good point.
Which they will be.
Yes, sir.
So that's it for the Astros here in the ninth. A little work to do for the Marlins, down 6-2, heading to the last of the ninth. Is brought to you by WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. Boy, that looks good. That is midseason form grill right there. Yeah. Yeah.
All about it.
Yeah, no, I'm checked out. I think it's time for a little late lunch for me, my friend.
Well, how about 5 runs here? Maybe a little walk-off.
I can wait. I can wait.
All right.
I can wait for that, sure. As we are back here, bottom of the ninth inning, trailing 6-2 Marlins. Brian Shales, 391 games in his minor league career, takes a called strike.
Again, congratulations, Mr. Brinson, making his first opening day roster. Delightful young man, played his heart out. Mr. Cooper as well, that we know of.
Some other roster moves to pass along. The Reds have claimed Justin Nicolino off waivers for the Marlins, so we'll see what spots that opens for the Marlins as, again, they continue to put the finishing touches on their opening day roster. The deadline is an hour before the first pitch. And again, just judging from what's going on, it might be about an hour and 10 minutes before those final spots are finally put to bed. But
right.
that's what Don Mattingly and his staff have prided themselves on, is that competition, which is going down to the wire. Marlins baseball is always live with MLB At Bat. The app will keep you connected every day with radio calls, video highlights, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB At Bat now. It's your #1 app for Marlins baseball. That gentleman certainly on MLB At Bat. There's no doubt that he's on the At Bat app. A Florida Marlins cap, which we'll see when the Padres come to town this season. The old throwbacks. In the 25th anniversary season of the Marlins. Colin McHugh in his second inning of work, just inside to Luis Pintor. Out toward left field, and that will get down for a base hit. Takes a big turn around first, an aggressive turn for Pintor after the one-out base hit here in the ninth.
That's what you like to see, playing the game hard. Advantage of the at-bats and the opportunity, even late in the ball game. You see that breaking ball, that spinner. McHugh left it up just a bit. It's off the end of the bat. It's going to get down. Watch him flying around the bases right here. Gets out of that box. If there's any hiccup, that's what you want to do, young men at home watching that. You're ready to take that extra base. Left fielder bobbles it even for a second. You can make your way into seconds. You can't do that if you take your time down to first base.
102. Austin Dean misses 2 balls and no strikes, and it's that intensity and playing the game like that that has certainly been preached throughout spring, the whatever it's been, 6 weeks of spring here, that how you prepare, how you play, how you treat your teammates has been really the mantra of this club, and really a big part of this new direction. It's not just, oh, hey, we're going to go out there and win games and it's just going to happen. It's how we're going to go about it.
Well, it's got to be a collective approach, and certainly you'd love to see it, and it certainly is in the DNA of your veterans, the few veterans that are going to be on this major league roster, guys I'm talking about that have significant big league time. As that goes, I mean, that's what you want your organization to be. You can't just preach it, you've got to demand it. I mean, you've got to see it in your players, and you've got to encourage it, and it's not something that stops. That's the one thing.
Runner goes, throw to second is
in time.
In time. 2 away here in the 9th. And the Marlins now down to their last out. In fact, their last strike as it's 3-2 on Dean.
You see the 1-hop throw into second base. Ends up being on the money. Nice job down at second base right there. Able to grab that long hop and get the tag down.
And if there were video replay, which there is not in spring, or at least not here today, might take another look at that. Not sure if a tag was down in the midsection or not. I mean, the throw beat him. Line drive, base hit up the middle. So Dean keeps the afternoon going here for the Marlins.
Another opportunity for us to see Monte Harrison.
Just thinking back that the throw beat him, and I could probably count on one hand the amount of times that I saw Derek Jeter get very upset on a baseball field. And there was a time, I believe he was stealing third base, attempting to steal third base, and the throw had him by a month. But the tag wasn't made.
Right.
And the umpire, you could read Derek Jeter's lips say, "What do you mean the throw beat me?"
Right.
Doesn't matter, he didn't tag me.
Well, the rules were a little bit different.
That's right.
I can speak to that firsthand. I mean, and we've seen a number of players, including the Mike Trouts of the world, do the, Javi Baez is certainly known for it, that creative slide, right? You see a guy come in and he's able to pull his left hand up and kind of go the swim move up and over and get
Matrix.
the back. Right? You get that now. You did not get that in our generation. Hey, the umpire just look at you and throw beat you. You're done. Just beat it. Took away from our creativity.
Harrison takes a called strike. You go back to the 5th inning when Harrison took over for Lewis Brinson and connected on this home run.
Oh, I love the side view. I'm glad we showed that one more time. You watch that back knee. Kind of had to work his way down into zone, and that's exactly how you want to do it, young man.
And this one drilled down the left field line, but hooking foul.
Almost number 2. Showing the Astros that he can handle the breaking ball on a couple of occasions.
Ball and 2 strikes to Harrison. Stays alive.
And Colin McHugh recognizes that. As Monte Harrison sets his hands. Maybe something that throughout his career he's going to have to continue to work on. Pitchers are going to probably pitch him with fastballs at those hands. You see they kind of like to sit low in the zone. That reminds me of Eric Davis a little bit.
Yeah. Upstairs, no throw as the runner takes second base.
Very nice, Wally. Very nice. Bravo. Bravo.
We'll call that one defensive indifference for those scoring at home as Harrison goes down, strike 3. So the Astros take care of business this afternoon, 6-2. They pick up the victory in the Marlins' final Grapefruit League tune-up. We're back to wrap things up in a moment.